John Heads Up Play podcast. How we doing, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. This is yours truly, Cowboy. We're going to go over some stuff today. We got in Mobile live my man J-Dub. J-Dub, how are you today?
I'm great, man. I'm doing great. Weather's great. Everything's great. How are y'all?
We're making it sweaty boy. Man, how are you doing, man?
Doing good. Just got back from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, about an hour ago or less. Went to the Alabama-Tennessee game, the third Saturday in October. It was a good weekend. Some great college football games, which we'll get into. Had me a good old time. Got me some Dion glasses.
Oh man!
Breaking these bad boys out. And just having a good old time. So ready to get this week's pod going.
I'm about to say I've had a good day myself. As you can tell, I got my Dirty Birds jersey on. The Dirty Birds pulled off a game-winning field goal against Baker Mayfield. You know, the other day, I'm going to tell you, Heads Up Play podcast, I am an avid jersey collector. I like to collect jerseys. I go to Ross.
He does.
They got them cheap. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what they got. They had one jersey, and I couldn't pay myself to buy it. It was a Baker Mayfield jersey. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am not a Baker Mayfield fan. I cannot pull myself to pull a Baker Mayfield jersey. So it brought me good pleasure watching us beat Baker Mayfield.
Why don't you like Baker Mayfield?
Jersey?
It was a Baker Mayfield. It was a cool one. It's like the gray edition Nike Cleveland Browns. I've never liked Baker Mayfield. The whole, playing Ohio State. Look, I don't like Ohio State, but when he gets the flags, puts it in the middle of the field. I don't know. I think Baker Mayfield was just cocky. Playing Kansas, he grabs his crotch, telling you're a basketball school, and then they lose a game or two every season.
We'll get into that because that almost happened.
Hey, speaking of jerseys, real quick, kind of piggybacking off of last week. Did y'all see what the Colts wore today?
I have not been able to watch any football today.
The black helmets, yes.
Oh, that is sick.
I would have said they had the best helmets, but did you see what the Western Kentucky football team did with their helmets?
Yesterday?
So they had big red. Look it up. They had big red helmets, and each position, like if you was a running back, you had it was different in big red running the ball. If you was a quarterback, him throwing the ball. If you was a lineman, him getting down on the stance. Like it's pretty cool.
I'm looking at it now. This is sick. Wow, it's all different. Wow. That's pretty neat.
I was like, I love the Colts one, but I love that Western Kentucky one. I was like, that's cool right there.
That is pretty sick.
They always have some cool helmets.
And shout out to the Jags, man. They do it. They really do. Mixing up the helmets every week like they do, I like it.
I will admit, I think South's some of those helmets are a little dumb looking. Like, let's be real. I think that Mardi Gras one they did a few weeks ago looked pretty bad, but a lot of them look cool. I think that throwback Jaguar one that they did a couple weeks ago, that one was sick. And I always love the SA, like the baseball logo that they use.
Yeah. The Battleship one is my favorite.
I might have stated my opinion on the whole South Alabama thing. And I'm just saying this because I'm a South Alabama fan with the South. South Alabama, I get it. Yeah, you want to change the colors of your helmets because you want to get recruits. Ooh. I want to win football games. Like, I'd rather us focus on gameplay instead of losing to Central Michigan, beating Oklahoma State by 23 points, and then, lose to Central Michigan on homecoming. But
you don't see Alabama changing their damn uniforms. You don't see Penn State changing the uniform. You don't see USC changing them uniforms.
Speaking of those teams. Auburn.
Well,
look, before we get into football, because we're going to have a long episode of football going over Judge Sweaty Boy going to give his verdict. Let's talk a little bit of baseball. Right now, tonight, I think it just kicked off. You got the Astros versus the Rangers. What is the series count, John?
3-2. It just kicked off, John. There's no outs yet.
Just kicked off 3-2 Houston, am I correct?
Yeah. They're playing in Houston.
This is weird, though. In this series, there's been 6 games. Out of the 6 games, well, tonight would be game 6, but out of the 5 games, nobody has won at home.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
That's very rare to see. Let's see who's on the bump today. You got Nathan Evaldi versus Famber Valdez. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably going to go. I'm going to stick with the road teams. Give me Texas tonight.
I think Nathan Evaldi is too good of a playoff pitcher. If you just like you said, you got to keep going with the way that this series has been going. The road team just wins so far. I'm still liking the Rangers as well.
And it's even really the same in Arizona. It's weird. Both series have been fully road teams.
Yeah, except last night, the Phillies got last night. But I'm gonna go Astros. I think they're gonna close it out tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah.
We'll see in the morning.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask y'all this. What do y'all think? What are, assuming the Astros advance to the World Series, Jose Altuve currently sits at 26 home runs, and Ramirez, the record is 29. Does he not make it, tie it, or beat it if they go to the World Series?
He will beat it.
Think he'll beat it?
And you know what? No, I think he will tie it.
I don't think he'll beat it. I don't think he'll beat it.
I bet you he ties it.
I don't know.
Especially if they clinch tonight. Sorry, John.
If it's Arizona, I think that he'll beat it. If it's Philly, I think he won't beat it.
I could see that. Well, on to that opposite series. You kind of mentioned it. I think you meant to say it's actually the opposite of what's going on in the ALCS. The road team can't seem to win, except for last night. Phillies just got the best of them. And to be honest, that was the game that needed to be won by the Diamondbacks. I said it from the beginning, Arizona needs to win every game at home at Chase Field because they're not getting 2 in Citizens Bank Park. I can see them. I can give them a 20% chance of getting 1. I give them a max 5% chance of getting both. It ain't happening. I'm sorry. I love the Diamondbacks, the Answerbacks. I pledge allegiance to the United Snakes of America, but it ain't happening.
I'm going to tell you, though, they've been a fun team to watch. That game on Friday night was one of the most fun I've had.
Incredible.
That was all. Dude, both games on Friday night were awesome.
We
didn't even talk about the fight, man. That is so good for this sport because these two teams have beef in the past. And when he got hit, he didn't beam the mound. He turned right to the guy he's had beef with and just went at it. And I loved it. I wish the umpire would have stepped back and just let him go.
Martin Maldonado is I don't want to say he's a dirty player, but that was 100% his idea. And Adolis knew it. And that is why he turned around, like you said, and got right in his face. This has been going on. I would say, would y'all not agree, the top 2 rivalries in the MLB right now are probably, after this postseason, Braves, Phillies, and Rangers, Astros?
Yes.
Especially
100%.
If Texas ends up winning?
I would have said the Braves Mets if the Mets didn't give up this year.
If the Mets didn't tank, yeah.
But I'm gonna go Braves. But no, I agree. Then of course you got the Yankees Red Sox. Whenever those 2 teams are good, and we'll get into that later in months when free agency starts. I truly think the Yankees are gonna go all in.
I think they are too. But kind of going off what you said about rivalries, I don't care what anybody says. The best rivalry in all of sports, in my opinion, is probably the Yankees and Red Sox. Like that, there's a lot of history
in all of
that.
sports.
Yeah, there's a lot of history.
I don't know about that.
Well, who would y'all say?
I don't know about that one.
I would, and not to be a homer, I think the Iron Bowl is either that or Ohio State, Michigan. I think just with college football
one of those
passion.
Well, I'm gonna tell you another one: Lakers, Celtics. I mean, you got those 2.
I don't know if that's as big as Yankees, Red Sox, though. That's up there, though. I'm telling
you, in the '80s, they used to. That's all that played in the '80s NBA Finals was Lakers versus the Celtics.
Yeah,
Magic versus Larry.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. And then
I was
who
going
else?
to
You
say,
got
like,
Red.
you look at the last
you
few
could
years, the Red Sox and Yankees have played each other in the playoffs a good bit. I mean, they played in the wild card. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
I think it was a couple years ago. Another
It was.
one. A lot of people forget about because it's been kind of irrelevant. Packers Bears, big
That's
fat
yeah.
rivalry.
That's
Yeah,
usually a big rivalry. I
yeah,
just feel like
that
the
is a
Yankees
big one.
Red Sox is not a good. I mean, it hasn't been good since Big Papi, Jason Barrett, the A Rods, the Andy Pettitts, the Derek Jeters. There's no egos. Like I mean, you had Manny Ramirez. Like there's just nobody ego wise for the Yankees and the Red Sox that can
Well,
drive that rivalry.
in the 2018 playoffs, I think the Yankees and the Red Sox played each other, and one of the games, I can't remember which one it was, but they were playing in Fenway, and Aaron Judge walked out of the stadium blasting "New York" by Frank Sinatra, and I thought that was pretty wild. Like that, he tried to get something going out of that, but
And we don't talk about another rivalry. It's the battle for the belt. Troy versus South Alabama.
It gets dirty.
you,
It gets dirty.
you
Tuck
gotta you
Froy.
gotta you gotta win some. You gotta win some games to have a rivalry. Is what I call it. I'll never forget my high school year of football. Our big rivalry was this school called Oakman High School, and they interviewed our coach after. I think we beat them like 40-7 or something like that. Beat the snot out of them. And they asked our coach and said, "Coach, what do you think about this rivalry?" He said, "Well, hell, can't be a rivalry if you don't win some." Talking about the other team, they're like 0-5 against us, and he just dissed them on Fox 6 News Live with James
Fox
Spann.
6 News Live. Oh, all right.
But
Well,
let's get into some football. Speaking on the subject, we'll
let's
kick off
do
with
it.
let's kick off with that 11 o'clock slate: Penn State, Ohio State. Sam, was you able to watch the game? Were you driving some?
I was not able to watch, but I did listen to a good bit, and I kind of got a recap of it.
What about John? What you got? Was you able to watch it?
So I was since you were watching that one, I was going after that. We'll talk about it after this, but the most boring game of the century, the Arkansas Mississippi State game.
Oh my gosh!
That one was rough.
From what I got with the Penn State Ohio State game is kind of exactly what I predicted, which a little bit lower scoring than I thought. But I mean, these are two very good defensive teams. I think Ohio State's defense is very good. But I think it's kind of proven the narrative for this season that both of these teams are just kind of sitting second row to Michigan right now. Now, granted, Michigan has not played anybody. We can talk about them for a while. But I think with the struggles that Georgia has had, they probably deserve to be number one because they've routed their opponents while Georgia has struggled. But yeah, I think Ohio State. I think they're sitting at 3 in the new AP poll. I like that spot. I do think Kyle McCord, their quarterback, needs to settle down just a little bit. I heard he was looking like kind of a deer in the headlights a little bit. But that's to be expected. He's replacing a guy. I mean, Jalen Milroe is replacing Bryce Young. He's replacing C.J. Stroud. So,
yep.
I thought this was a defensive game. They both just ran into big defenses. And for Penn State, like I mentioned last episode, it seems like this is the same thing every single year. Start off really hot. James Franklin can't seem to win the big games. And this is a team that is totally capable of doing so. He can't do it.
Starts off 6-0, plays Ohio State, falls all apart. Loses 2 games, wins a big bowl game, and gets everybody's hopes up. Penn State's back. They're going to win it all. And then it happens again. Their offense is putrid. I'm going to use the word putrid.
Yeah.
Drew Aller threw 18 for 42 for only 191 yards passing, for only 4.5 average yards. Their running game did nothing. Only a total of, I want to say, 26 carries for 49 yards.
Yeah, they look like a Big Ten West offense.
they're just not good. And I'm gonna tell you though, who's by far he might be the best player in the country, and he's on Ohio State. He goes by the name Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. He might be the best wide receiver in college since Devontae Smith.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure,
he's a stud,
He
dude.
caught
absolutely.
11 receptions with 162 yards with 14.7 average per yard with a touchdown. I mean,
How many targets did he get?
I do not know that stat. I do not know that
He's
number.
very.
But
You throw it to him, he's most likely catching it. But
Yeah.
he would likely be in the Heisman race if he had a little bit higher stats. If Kyle McCord was probably able to get it to him a little bit more.
I
It's
agree.
tough to win the Heisman as a wide receiver, but I agree. I do think. I'm gonna be honest. I think Brock Bowers is the best player in the country, but with him being out,
We'll find
MHJ
out.
he might just be.
Yeah.
But no, I think Penn. And we'll talk about it at the end of the show when we give our top four. Because I don't know if y'all knew this. Starting next week, October 31st, on Halloween as well, it is going to be the first released college football playoff ranking.
Oh, nice.
Big stuff.
I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to. And I know Georgia, they won back to back. In my opinion, I don't know how you don't put Ohio State number one. I mean, with wins over Notre Dame and Penn State, I think they have the best resume right now between them and maybe, well, not even Texas. They can't beat Oklahoma, and we'll get in that Oklahoma game later. I mean, Gus Bus, that was a Gus Bus move at the end. But but
I was
I
pulling
think
for my
Ohio
boy
State has the
Gus. I
best.
was hoping he would pull it out, but
I think Ohio State has one of the best resumes there is, just in the sense of they were able to beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They beat Maryland. They beat Purdue. I mean, I know these ain't great wins, but if they can beat Michigan, I don't see. I mean, that's 3 top 10 teams they've beat.
yeah, I mean, even if you like disregard Michigan, like that the Ohio State Michigan game, like yeah, Michigan probably looks the best, but like you just said, the best resume in all of college football belongs to Ohio State,
I
without a
mean,
doubt.
it truly does. It truly does. The other 11 o'clock game that John watched, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was. I flipped on it. I maybe watched it a minute. I couldn't do it. It was Mississippi State versus Arkansas. And no, they were not playing baseball. They were not playing softball. They were playing football, ladies and gentlemen. 7 to
Yeah,
3.
with a
7 to
final
3. John, give us.
score, a final score of 7-3, right? You had 205 passing yards from Mississippi State and 200 passing yards from Arkansas. Mississippi State was 1 for 10 on third down conversions. Arkansas was 5 for 17. I mean, you talk about like the most pitiful game I've watched in a long time, dude. Like it was bad. Like, did you watch the end of it at least?
I watched the ending of it. Yes, it was just.
You had two opportunities on both sides of the ball to score, and you didn't capitalize. Like, and the fact that was Arkansas's homecoming game, and that's what they had. Like, I'm calling it now. Sam Pittman's got to be gone this week. I don't think they'll do it, but he needs to be gone this week.
I agree. I was just about to say if he's not fired by the end of this season, that's a big mistake by Arkansas. He has got to go. When you almost beat Alabama the week before.
I don't.
What sense does that make?
This is the weirdest college football year I've witnessed in a long time, guys. Like nothing makes sense. Auburn gets blown out by LSU. Ole Miss comes in, and for some reason we put up the best fight we've put up all season, other than Georgia. Still lose the game. Arkansas almost beats y'all, and then I don't even have an adjective to describe this game yesterday. Like, I was getting frustrated watching this because of how bad it was.
I mean, this is a major step back for the Arkansas program. I mean, 2-6 right now. I mean, with the rest of their record, the rest of their schedule, they got to play at Florida on November 4th. That's not going to happen. They're going to have to play Auburn at. I'm taking Auburn. I'm taking Auburn the way they.
I don't blame you. I will too. I'll do it.
They play at IU. That's a win. and then they play Missouri. We'll get into Missouri, but that's a lost team. So they potentially can maybe win 2 more games with FIU and maybe either Auburn, just because Auburn's a home game. But they're not going to beat Missouri. There's no way. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, he's definitely got to go. And this is a guy that 2 years ago we thought would be very good. He'd bring Arkansas back to, not SEC championship level, but, maybe like Bobby Petrino type days. Man, tough stuff there in Fayetteville. He's got to go. I mean, that's I didn't watch any second of it because it was ending right as I was getting into the stadium for a game that we'll also get into. But, yeah, that's putrid. That's really bad.
Arkansas was a 7-point favorite too. They're supposed to win that game.
And
they sit at 2-6 right now. They're 2-6.
They had the most, them and Mississippi State, but Will Rogers, he was out. I'll give them credit. I understand why. But they had Mike Davis, who was at band division. Like, he's not a quarterback. Like, they just had to deal with what they had. Will Rogers was out. This was Arkansas's game. You had KJ Jefferson, who is the most experienced with Rogers out of the game, who has the most experience playing in the SEC. He's the most years played in the SEC. He should have dominated this game. The way the throw for 90, how many yards was it exactly? It was
97,
like 97 yards. Ridiculous.
That's another story. Is KJ Jefferson is like the unluckiest quarterback in the SEC. He's so good.
He's not bad. He's not
so
bad.
good.
Like I don't think he's that bad. I mean, I truly don't. I think there's worse quarterbacks.
He's been in so many situations where they could have beat LSU. They could have beat Alabama. They were 1-score games. They could have beat Mississippi State.
I mean, Wright for Mississippi State threw 85 yards.
Well, let's move on out of this future game.
Another 11 o'clock game, and with the former head coach of Auburn Tigers, the Golden Knights of Central Florida playing Oklahoma. That was such a Gus. I don't know if y'all was able to watch. I watched the ending. That was such a Gus Bus ending.
That's been the story of UCF all season.
I don't. So let me tell you, the teams that joined the Big 12. These are the records. You had UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston. And I want to ask y'all if you think they regret coming to the Power 5. Cincinnati sitting at 2-5. UCF is sitting at 3-4. Houston 3-4, and BYU 5-2.
I mean, I knew that's kind of what was probably going to happen. I mean, you're going to have a transition period. So, yeah, I'm looking at leaders right now. You got John Rice Plumlee for UCF, 16 of 30 for 248 yards on that defense that we were kind of praising for Oklahoma. The first time Oklahoma having a decent defense in a long time. Dylan Gabriel had a decent day, 253 yards for 3 touchdowns. Not much of a run game going on. Yeah, this was it back and forth? I wasn't able to watch much of it at all.
It was back and forth, and what happened was they had to go for 2. They scored very late. They had to go for 2. And what Gus does, it was such a Gus Malzahn play. I think he tried to do like a double pass.
Oh, very Gus.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm watching it again. I want to be sure. I'm telling you, when I watched it, yeah.
Chew that gum.
Me and my wife, we like to eat at Waffle House after every game. They do us right here. They do us right. What was her name, John?
I don't know. I just know that he's Gus Malzahn, man. He's a league of his own. I don't know.
He tried to mind you, they're like on the 10. He tries to do a double pass. He has a wide receiver come in the backfield, throws it to him, and of course, it's going to happen every time. 3 defenders are in the wide receiver's face, and he doesn't get the ball up, and that's game right there. I mean, I get it. You have to go blue team to win the game, or to at least tie. You got to do the 2 to tie. But you can draw something up better than that. He has before.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody thought UCF was going to put up that good of a fight in that game. So, I personally tip my hat to them. I think they did a good job. I think Oklahoma is a really good team this year. And to answer your question, I don't think that Cincinnati regrets coming, but the other 3, I can see them regretting that. But if UCF, man,
why
if
does
they would have got
Cincinnati
it,
not regret it? If you don't mind me asking,
because they've had past success, I think that they're capable of it. I really do.
I think you can throw Houston in there. I think Houston should have been a Power 5 a long time ago.
I think that out of the 4, the one that should have been a Power 5 was BYU. Out of all of them.
What, man,
I agree.
What have they done though? You said they should
They're
or shouldn't
5-2. They beat the SEC team this year. Who they beat?
Arkansas.
Was it? It was Arkansas. It was Arkansas.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
I'm gonna say I don't know.
I mean, yeah. This season, yeah, they're doing good, and everybody else isn't. But I mean, didn't Cincinnati go to the playoff
a couple years ago? But Luke Fickell's not there anymore.
He's at Wisconsin. That's what I'm saying.
But point being, they can get the recruits there at Cincinnati, and I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this to stay back on the game. What does this mean for Oklahoma now? Are they legit? Are they fake? Do we know? Is it just a bad game? It was in Norman.
I think it was an overlooked game. I think it was just overlooked.
You're probably right. I think good teams are going to have bad games. They probably looked at where they're now ranked and said, we're up here now. And they looked at lowly UCF and probably let UCF and that Gus Malzahn style team come in there and give them fits. And they had to come back late.
What I think it was a and John, you would know this as an Auburn fan. UCF before the game was 3-3. This was a, you know what, we're playing at Oklahoma. They're number 6 in the nation. They just beat Texas. Well, let's throw everything but the kitchen sink at them. I mean, this is our Super Bowl. We either going to be 4-3 or 3-4 on season. Let's just throw everything we got at them. And I think that's what happened today. Was they threw everything they got at them. What are we going to lose? We'll be 3-4. This is our first year in the Big 12. This is nothing for us. But for Oklahoma, this is massive. Like, they could lose to the new members of the conference who was 3-3. Like, they just threw everything they had at them. Yeah, nothing left on the table. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think they threw everything they had at them, and I loved it. I thought it was great because, I mean, it was a vintage Gus Malzahn. I was glad to see a little bit of life in Gus.
Well,
I like Gus personally.
Looking at Oklahoma's schedule now, they're currently sitting. They are undefeated. They got Kansas at Kansas. Kansas is 5-2. That's a trap game. They got Oklahoma State, Bedlam. Surprised that game's not the last game of the season. I believe it usually is. I could be wrong. Oklahoma State, despite losing to South, they're 5-2. That's going to be a big environment. It's at Oklahoma State. Yeah, West Virginia at who you said earlier, BYU. That could be a trap game. And then you got TCU at home. So I don't know if Oklahoma's going to drop any of these. I think if they are going to drop one, it's probably going to end up being to Oklahoma State or BYU. But I agree. I'm going to be honest. I think it's going to end up being, again, Texas and Oklahoma in that Big 12 championship. I think this is probably a scare game for Oklahoma, and they'll probably tighten back up coming next week.
I agree. I think next week.
Go ahead, John.
I think whoever they play next week, they're going to beat the piss out of them. I think it's going to be run the score up.
This Kansas had this game not turned out the way it did, I would say that Kansas probably would beat them with it being at Kansas, because Kansas has a pretty good environment in their stadium. Like that, they're not like a typical like Mid-East or Midwest.
I'll say Kansas knows how to. They're kind of like the Purdue of the Big 12. They
Yeah.
They'll pull out that upset every now and then. They always do it to Texas for whatever reason, but
But
okay.
after that performance, I don't think Oklahoma's going to let that happen.
No, you're right. I don't think so either.
Before we move on, let me ask y'all, how crazy does it sound when we're saying, like, yeah, Kansas, like 5 years ago, you would never say Kansas is going to beat anybody.
No.
Like, that's just crazy to think. Like, Kansas, it's not basketball season. What's going on? Like, what are we talking about?
I was about to say, not unless you're talking about basketball. All right, well, let's
move
get into the big
move into
games,
2:30. Sam, give us a little bit of experience. All Sweaty Boy was at Tennessee versus Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. He was there for the game. Nail biter. So, Sam, tell us, did you have fun? What happened on your trip? Tell us what you thought.
You meet any fans?
I had this one next to me, this girl. She had some like sorority pins on. She sat next, her seat was next to mine. She, for some reason, must listen to the podcast. I don't know. She knew me. She was flirting with me the whole game. I'm just kidding. That's my fiance. I had a great time. Obviously, it was not the most fun for the first hour, but it was a good time. I ate me a Kaneka dog. It was delicious. It was good. I had me a good time. Alabama, Jalen Milroe. Look, we can say as many bad things as we want about him, and I got to be honest. He's tough to watch when he's doing bad. He is even tougher to watch in person when he's doing bad. Oh my God. I wanted to pull my hair out as an Alabama fan watching that. And of course, I was up in the nosebleeds with the deplorables, half of them Tennessee fans. And of course, they're chirping. They're chirping all through that first half. And I texted you guys. I was like, I don't know if Alabama came back in the second half against Ole Miss. They've done this before. This is a second half team or a one half team? I mean, look at Arkansas. They dominated in the first half, didn't do so good in the second. I was like, but this is 13 points. I mean, it feels more. It felt like 36 points. I was like, I don't know if we're going to come back to this the way that they're playing. Tennessee cannot be stopped. The defense, it's that gimmicky offense where they put the receivers way out there and they play so fast. And Tennessee's defense, while okay, they're not fantastic, but they were beating our offense. We could not do anything. And what I knew was going to happen was our defense was going to get gassed quickly against that offense. But here they come. I've learned now. I'm saying it now. And I'm knocking on some wood here as a fan. If the Alabama Crimson Tide can play the way they did in that second, and I've said this, we've said this since the Ole Miss game. We have said this. If they can play the way they did in the second half, a whole game for the whole rest of the season, that's a national championship caliber team. They can win the national championship.
No,
it's just a matter if they will. They just got to get started, play start to finish the whole way. But I mean, they looked incredible there in the second half. They were fantastic. The energy in the crowd. That was my third Saturday in October game I've ever been to. I've seen Alabama play Tennessee the most times because it usually falls on the week of my birthday. But yeah, it was incredible. That was the loudest I've ever seen Bryant-Denny Stadium, especially in person. It was incredible. Cigars lighted up. Wish I would have brought me one. But yeah, it was a great game. What'd you guys think of it?
I'm going to tell you, this game, it reminded me so much. We get down by 13. It really reminded me of November 10th, 2012, when Texas A&M came to Tuscaloosa. And Johnny Manziel. Remember, they went up on us like this. It was one of those games. It goes to half. I'm thinking, okay, like I'm not questioning our offense. I think we're going to put points up on the board, but I'm thinking, can we stop them on defense? Like enough to catch up 13 points. That's how I looked at it. Was like, okay, we're not going to catch up with 13 points. I was ready. I was like, we're going to lose. I was like, come on, man, we're going to lose this game. And it's going to be 2 years in a row with Tennessee. When they started on TV, Sam, you wouldn't have seen this, but they were rolling out what two teams has Alabama, who's Nick Saban lost to in his career? It was like 3 teams, actually, my bad. What 3 teams has Nick Saban lost to in his career back-to-back years? It was
Ole
LSU
Miss.
and Ole Miss, and then someone else who's at LSU. I can't remember who it was at LSU. I think it was Florida, maybe. But they were just doing all that stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, man, you're right. Jalen Milroe, that first half, that might have been some of the worst. I don't know if it was him. Play calling was bad. That was some of the worst play calling.
Let's again, it's that offensive line. They have the capabilities to be fantastic, but he needs them to do good for him to do good. And staying on Jalen, we talked about it in the last episode. John actually said it. If there's any game for Jalen Milroe to do bad, it could be this one. And sure enough, in the first half, it was looking like it. And I also said, if there's any game for Joe Milton to break out, it's going to be this one. And he was on it.
Half.
He was on it that first half. But Alabama obviously went crazy the second half. But Tennessee also, what were they doing? There were a lot of questionable play calls.
They should have punted.
You went for it on 4th and 1, 2 or 3 times?
2 times.
Two times.
Both times.
And they got, And it got so loud, especially after the scoop and score from Campbell. It was incredible. We knew, once it hit the end of the third quarter, I was like, it's done. The way it's going now, it's done. It was just simply incredible.
When you sent us that video, you see the orange leaving, I was like, oh, I love it. Leave. I'm not gonna. I started yelling at the TV. Like, I'm not gonna say what I said to the TV.
Get out! Start the buses.
I told y'all though. Y'all could have came back, and for maybe a little bit. You did. A little bit of that was like just trying to give y'all hope, but a lot of that I knew that y'all could do it. And as soon as y'all scored in the first minute of the game in the second half, I was like, they're coming back. There's no way. And Tennessee didn't. They got no points in the second half. I don't know what Nick Saban said to them in the locker room, but it worked because they came out and
they never had the ball.
Completely different team.
That first half, they had most of the time of possession, and then the second half came. It felt like you never watched Tennessee's offense. They were getting 3 and outs, or they'd get close, and then they'd go for it.
Yeah, and man, I like I said, I was up there with all the Tennessee fans. They were distraught. They were down bad. There was one dude behind me, literally the row behind me, and his face, he had that bright-ass orange on. His face was so red he might as well have been an Alabama fan.
Dude, you should have seen them on TV. They were showing like the fans looked like they were about to cry. I've never seen fans that sad. They kept on showing one person. Johnny, is that who you're about to say?
That kid in the student section. They kept showing him all night. He was like, I was like, bro, what are you doing in the middle of Alabama's student section with a bright orange? And it was just generic Tennessee shirt. I was like, dude, what you doing? He looked like a kid. He looked like he was in college at Tennessee. He looked like a random kid from Clanton, Alabama. He don't look like.
Wow. Well, I kept turning every time we scored and we came back. I kept turning around because they were they all sat up at the very top. I don't know if they showed it on TV. They all sat at the very, very top, and I kept turning around.
Really hard on TV, and I couldn't see you.
Oh, you wouldn't have seen me where I was at.
I could tell Sam that every time you did that, you'd go like this.
That's exactly what I did, and they just looked at me with the arms crossed, and they were convinced. Not just at halftime. They were convinced from when they stepped in that stadium, they were winning that game. And when they saw it was over, they were so mad. And they walking out of the stadium, walking back to the parking lot, there were some things said that I cannot repeat on YouTube from some Tennessee fans. It was bad, and Alabama fans too. There were some Alabama fans barking at some Tennessee fans. This is a bitter rivalry. I will say it was dominated by Alabama for years. It's back, and I think a lot of the younger folk who don't, even me, I wasn't really watching Alabama or don't remember when the rivalry was, back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, while we've been watching football, Tennessee's
it is an incredible rivalry, an incredible tradition with the cigars. Bear Bryant hated Tennessee. That's where that thing came from. So, yeah, I'm glad it's back. I'm glad Alabama won. But for Tennessee, another thing is the penalties. Proud of Alabama.
Good. We did good. I was waiting for a touchdown to be called back. I was just waiting. When we get the scoop and score, I was like, okay, we're about to get called back on something. Nothing ever came of it. I was just ready for it.
Well, and Josh Heupel, Tennessee didn't get many penalties either, but they definitely got more than Alabama. And Tennessee fans are convinced that Alabama pays the refs, and because we only got one penalty that really ended up working in our favor.
But they're not going to talk about that one play. They're not going to talk
about last year.
Well, that one last year, or the one play this year, when the player that hit him with a closed fist, so he was trying to hit the ball out. He deliberately went for the helmet.
They showed
nowhere
it
near the ball.
They showed it on the jumbotrons, and everybody went nuts, booing like crazy after that.
I think he went for the ball personally, but I'm just going to say this. I'm glad you brought up that point about the rivalry being back, because I watched the game in an Alabama Crimson Tide infested house yesterday with my Auburn polo on, and I had a T, and it stood for the Tide right here.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. It stood for Tennessee.
I watched that game, and I told them, I said, look, today, no matter what happens, the biggest takeaway I'm getting from this is that this rivalry actually means something again. Because for our entire life, it sucked.
You're just glad they had fun.
Sucked. What?
You just hope both teams had fun.
Yeah, honestly.
John, I'm gonna tell you. You did something yesterday, and you do it all the time, and it really gets under my skin.
Yes, it does.
When you go, well, I believe in y'all. Y'all gonna go. Shut up, John. Let me just hate my team right now. I know that.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm like, I liked because Lindsay was overlooking my text when I said I don't think we're going to come back, and she's like, "You're so dramatic," and I was like, "I'm trying to reverse jinx this here. Shut up. Let me be mad."
And John said, "What'd you say?" I was like, No, I'm done. This is while I'm screaming at the TV.
You're a freaking doomer, though, dude. You are the worst about it, John.
I'm not.
You are.
No, I'm not. I am trying.
You are.
No, I'm not. No, I'm a realist.
Sam, back me up here.
You're okay. You're pretty bad.
I'm worse than the Braves. I'm worse than the Braves, though.
You are. Well,
next game. Let me vent now. Can I vent about my game, or is there one in between?
Let me end one. Let me end back on that penalty note with Tennessee, and then we'll move on to that, because I also have a rant with your game as well, and it's probably something that you agree with. But Josh Heupel said in his post game, he said this right here for about 30 seconds of silence when asked about the one-sided refereeing of the game. All I say is, Josh, you're kind of coming off as a little bit of a PUSSY here, because you did the same thing in the Florida game. Quit blaming your losses on the referees. The referees did not score 27 unanswered points, okay? Let's also look at the game last season, all right? Bama's the most penalized team in the country here, okay? It's okay. It's okay. I had to get that out.
I don't know.
But John,
I'm gonna say one thing. I think Heupel looks like a slob. I think out of all college football coaches,
Heupel's fat. Josh Heupel's fat. He looks like Bobby from King of the Hill.
Him and Bruce Pearl. So let's get into Auburn.
Let's move on. John, take it away.
All right, so as you know, I had no expectations for this game, right? I had no expectations, and those are the worst kind of games for me because Auburn always ends up doing something good, right? I just want to say, before I criticize Auburn, we might have the best defense in the SEC. I don't know if y'all watched that game. We have a really good defense, dude.
I've said this all year. I've said this all year. Auburn's good on defense. I mean, they're good.
Yeah, but like yesterday it showed like more than it ever has because like that wasn't a game where Ole Miss was shooting themselves in the foot. That was a game where Ole Miss was giving it 125%, and Auburn's defense was giving it 126%. Ole Miss is great. They're a good team, hands down. But the score does not show what it should have been because if our defense played like our offense did, we would have lost 45-21. Like it would have been awful. But shout out to our defense. Now, with that being said, you can't win a football game having 6 passing attempts in 3 quarters. You can't do it. I don't care. I don't care how good your running backs are. I don't care how good the Wildcat is. You are not going to win a football game like that. And at a certain point, I get it. Like, you have no faith in the passing ability of Peyton Thorne, and you probably have a little bit more in Robbie Ashford, but you're not going to let him do it. Try it, man. Try it. I mean, when you start going down and they're scoring unanswered points on you, like, you got to do something different at that point.
Look what they did at that last drive of the game.
Yes,
they started throwing the ball.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, Ole Miss went into the locker room at halftime. They talked about Auburn's play calling, adjusted to it, and we said, all right, let's just keep on doing the same thing. If they answer to it, we're just going to keep on doing the same thing. Nothing changed. And I'm not at the point yet where I'm blaming Hugh Freeze because I genuinely don't like. I don't know what you would do in that situation. Our quarterback problem is a huge problem. But
that's a big one.
That's my rant. That's my rant.
I do think that Hugh Freeze said at the beginning of the season, prior to the start of the season, he said, "We got Peyton Thorne, but there is a place in this offense for Robbie Ashford." And I sat there and I kind of thought, okay, I kind of trust you here, Hugh, because you're a great offensive mind, but you got to make this work because it is so difficult to make a 2-quarterback system work. I mean, the only one that really comes to mind for me is Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. I can't think of another really good one.
I mean,
exactly.
Florida '97, they had Walford and Brad Johnson, I think was or Jesse Palmer.
Yeah, that it's really really tough. So I think they just need to stick with somebody, one of the two, and it. From what I've seen, is what Robbie Ashford can do with his legs. I think now he can't throw the ball for jack squat, but I mean, you got to at least let him get the reps and work on it. Do something here because this whole 2-quarterback system thing, it's not working whatsoever. But I have a little bit of a go ahead.
If TJ Finley was still at Auburn, would he be the starting quarterback? I mean, he's going off at Texas State right now.
Yeah, he is. No,
and he would not be the starting quarterback.
I don't know. I really don't.
Because I don't know. I saw a thing on ESPN. They ranked like every transfer quarterback. They had him like in the top 3. Like his season, he's having a great season for Texas State.
I mean, that's an SEC player going to the Sun Belt.
And you don't know if he was going.
I don't know.
Who knew that he would have that season? But
he's
I have a rant.
Though. He's better than. Well, what you got?
I have a rant with this game that I want to get to, but I want to make sure. Do y'all have any other points with this game before I go to this?
Yeah,
I want to say
this. Go ahead, John.
What?
Take it away.
Go ahead.
No, you go, John. I'll go last. Go first, Sam.
Okay, I want to say Jackson Dart is a pretty good quarterback. I didn't know how I felt
Yeah,
about him
he
before
is.
the game, but I got to give him his flowers. I mean, he only had one touchdown and he had an interception, but I mean, he only had 10 completions passing, but he had 200 yards. Peyton Thorne had 9 completions and 100 yards. So take that with how you want, but I think the future is bright for him. I don't know I don't know about Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford. To your point, Sam, I agree that Ashford is not a passing quarterback, but I don't know the answer to who you would start, like who you would rather have.
Yeah, I don't either for sure. All right, Jr. Cowboy, what you got?
I'm gonna tell you, it gets on my nerves when, and not you, John. Every Auburn, this office I work at, all the Auburn fans, we're gonna get blown out this week. We're playing Ole Miss. We're gonna get blown out. We're playing Georgia. Y'all have, in my opinion, possibly the best home field advantage in the SEC, maybe in the
I think I know
country.
where you're going with this.
It gets on my nerves how y'all always. I don't know. It gets on my nerves on how y'all. Auburn's terrible. Auburn's terrible. And every time y'all play at home, y'all play y'all butts off. Y'all do. Y'all do every time. I'm giving Auburn kudos. I am. I think their defense is elite. I've been saying it all year. Auburn's defense is good. Y'all got to give them a little bit of credit. Like y'all don't need to just. I mean, are y'all gonna win a game? Probably not. But it's not gonna be a blowout like LSU. Y'all played at LSU. That's why it was a blowout. I don't.
All right.
I don't know. What do you think I was going to go with it, Sam? I'm so
I thought you were going to go with where I'm going to go with it.
okay.
As much as I hate Auburn, I also, just to your point, admit that Auburn has, in the SEC, one of the greatest home field advantages. When I came to where I was staying at my parents' house there in Alabama. My dad's a big Auburn fan. He, of course, had the game on, and there was about, I want to say, 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was still 28-14, a 2-score game. They always say, I don't know if y'all have ever heard this, but they say that the worst position to be in, the worst lead to have in college football is 2 touchdowns. And I looked at the crowd, and it looked like I was watching a game from 2020. It looked like a COVID crowd with the amount of people that had already left the game. What are you doing? You're not down by that much. You were tied with them for much of the game. It's 2 touchdowns. And, of course, they come back and they score another one. You don't know what could have happened if you just were there to cheer them on. That is demoralizing for those players. It's embarrassing for a fan base to do that, to leave like that. It looked horrible having that few people in the stands. It pissed me off as an Alabama fan seeing that. It pissed me off. Like, it looked like a COVID crowd. What? It's 2 touchdowns. Auburn fans of all people, should know crazier things have happened than to come back from 2 touchdowns with a few minutes left. They drove down and scored. You could have witnessed a great comeback. It didn't happen, but you don't know. You could have cheered and caused a difference in the game. Nick Saban literally said it. He begged. You create the momentum of the game. That's why Alabama got so loud this past game. Auburn fans leaving like that, it made a difference. And those players probably sat there and said, what's the point? They kept playing credit to them, but that pissed me off.
All right, I got 2 things to say about that. The second one's a question, but the first thing I want to say is I feel you 100%. I totally understand because that would have made me mad too. Because like you said, we weren't down by much. But did you watch the game before that or listen to it or anything? Because I don't think the frustration didn't come from the score of the game. The frustration came from the actual play of the game. Because
understandable.
If you would have seen how we were playing in that second half and what we were doing in terms of passing and just quarterback decisions, you probably would have been like, if you were an Auburn fan, you probably would have left too, because it was one of those things where, yeah, the score may not show that we're out of the water, but the momentum and the vibe of the game was basically that we were done. And yeah, you're right. Crazier things have happened, and I personally wouldn't have left. I don't like leaving games early. I watched the game till the very end when we made a stupid onside kick decision. But with all that being said, I wouldn't be a Barner if I didn't bring up the fact that y'all's very own coach back in 2021 and 2019 and everything was
you're
calling
100%
out
right.
Alabama.
You're 100% right.
Let me finish so everybody watching this who doesn't know knows that Alabama fans were the absolute worst about leaving games at halftime. They were the absolute worst about
that's
it.
okay, but here's the thing.
It's a different reason. I agree. It's still demoralizing to the players. It's still demoralizing to the players.
No, you're 100% correct. But it's a difference in blowing somebody out and being still in the game. And I understand it definitely was one-sided in that second half for sure. And I could see starting to leave at maybe the 2-minute mark. But like it was at like the 6-7 minute mark. I was like, damn it, it's that many people gone. I was like, that's bad. That looks bad on TV.
I agree.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this to your argument, John. I get what you're saying. It's demoralizing to the players. I don't think Alabama players really care that much. And I'm not trying to say this as Alabama. When we're blowing a team out 40-7, they don't really notice the fans are gone. But when you're getting blown out 40-7. That's when they notice, okay, our fans ain't here to support us even at our lowest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right, but I just wanted to bring up the fact that y'all's head coach did call y'all out.
No, you're 100% right. No, you're absolutely right. Well, all right. I think we've touched on the Bama teams a little too much.
Well, we talked about the Bama dynasty. Well, let's talk about a dynasty that ended yesterday, in my opinion. Let's go Miami versus Clemson. Miami handing Clemson their third loss of the season already. Clemson 4-30. Let me simply ask y'all the question: how much longer does Dabo got left at Clemson?
I think Dabo has. He could finish his career there. Let's be honest. He could be out for the simple fact that Clemson. It's all because of him, you know. We could say Nick Saban could lose, go 1-11 for the next 15 years and probably not get fired because of what he built there. So the dynasty that I don't think was ever really a dynasty, but really close to it.
Well, let me tell you
I don't see it coming back unless he makes any changes.
Let me tell you what I think. I think maybe they're giving maybe another year or two. If he don't start winning next year, let me think about Clemson's a dynasty. I mean, they're always up there in recruits. They used to be, especially. They can get recruits. You get a coach there that can recruit and that actually will use the NIL and use the transfer portal. Oh, Clemson will be right back, just like that.
No, I agree. I agree.
You know that's in the back of their head. You know it is. Like when will they come back? I guess is my question.
Well, let's look at their schedule.
You give Dabo this season and next season, and if he ain't done any better, I think he's gone. I get that, like, you can say all that's because of him, but I mean, look at Auburn got rid of Gene Chizik 2 years after he won the national. LSU got rid of Ed Orgeron 2 years after he won the national.
Well, everybody kind of knew Ed and Gene was kind of like, okay, it was because of, especially Gene. Like, if it wasn't for Cam Newton, Gene, everybody, even Gene thought he shouldn't even get the Auburn job.
I mean, if it wasn't for Cam Newton, Michael Dyer, Nick Fairley, I mean, there's more than just Cam there. Come on.
Oh, no, he was 5-19 at Iowa State.
Who?
Gene Chizik.
Yeah, I didn't say Cam. Gene Chizik. I said okay. Cam Newton, Michael Dyer, Nick Fairley.
Question. You gonna make me? You gonna make me get on? Okay, let's put Nick Marshall on that team. Do they go undefeated and beat Bama and beat Oregon? No.
Heck yeah, they do. We're the greatest.
Okay.
We're the greatest, John. We're the greatest.
we'll get caught up on this, but yes,
Well,
let's look at Clemson's schedule.
all right, they got remaining NC State at NC State. That's a toss-up. Clemson might. They're a 10-point favorite right now.
Oh yeah.
Notre Dame at Clemson.
Okay. You know what? I'll go 5-4. 5-4.
Georgia Tech, they got that one.
6-4.
North Carolina at home.
6-5. 6-5.
In South Carolina. In South Carolina.
7-5. That's not a good.
They'll make a BS bowl. Yeah.
And they won't go to it because they're Clemson. They still look at it as we're Clemson, we're a dynasty, pizza party.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Another game. Florida State and Duke. ACC matchup again.
I knew that was going to be a blowout. I mean, the scores don't show. I think it's Florida State's. We'll get into the next game that makes it, but this is Florida State's conference to have.
Okay.
They're undefeated now.
Look. Duke was beating this team for much of the game. If Riley Leonard plays that whole game, we might have a different outcome. But Duke could not get anything going once he was taken out. Of course, FSU ran away with it, scored all those points in the fourth quarter. And I do think, looking at them now, yeah, they're probably going to be a playoff team. The only team that might compete with them in the ACC, maybe Miami. That's going to be a crazy game on November 11th. But I mean, don't diss on Duke here. That was my upset pick of the week, and I thought I was about to be shitting on y'all hard until that fourth quarter.
We all missed our upsets of the week. We all missed
we did.
Upsets.
I thought I was going to, dude, if Tennessee would have pulled it off, I would have, woo.
I thought I pulled mine off, and then they hit a game-winning field goal. But, yeah, I mean, Duke, Riley Leonard is good, but Florida State, Jordan Travis is a stud. Let's go to this next game because this is when chaos can happen if North Carolina can beat Florida State. But how can you beat North Carolina at home? And I get, okay, you lost to Virginia. Okay, you might have lost on a buzzer beat. You had 8 minutes left. It's been that score for 8 minutes. You couldn't score in 8 minutes. You couldn't get a field goal. You couldn't do nothing in 8 minutes against Virginia, who was 1-5 going into this game.
Worst team in the ACC. I mean, it's Virginia.
They might be the worst team in Power 5.
Yeah. This is in North Carolina. Typically, within the Mac Brown era, has done far exceeded expectations.
Oh yeah,
but there is a pattern of losing games that you're supposed to win. But oh my God, it's Virginia.
You want to know why
Virginia.
You want to know why they lost? You want to know why they lost?
Let's hear it.
Someone tell me who's defensive coordinator at North Carolina.
Couldn't tell you.
Mr. Gene Chisholm.
He is the defensive coordinator. He is.
Yeah, it's that defensive mind. Dude. That's what wins championships.
He sure is.
Hey, and John, just to bring up your point, North Carolina does not play Florida State this year.
It would be in the championship.
That's when chaos would happen. Because you know how college football is.
You know who Florida State plays on November 18th?
North Alabama. I was going to go to that game, but I got Thanksgiving to go to. I really was. Tickets as low as $5. Florida State
I'm
for
seeing
me is
21. I'm seeing 21.
I would
21
go
Savage?
into that game.
Hey,
You need to do something for me.
Sam, can we make our announcement? Can we make our announcement about us going mobile?
Yes, we can.
John, exciting news. Exciting news, John.
Doubling up this
mobile.
time.
We're going mobile on Saturday, November 4th. Me and the Sweaty Boy will be reporting live from the swamp in Gainesville, Florida, to watch the Gators take on the Razorbacks. Battle of the Mid, they're calling it.
This is going to be a blackout. Damn dogs. It's going to be a blackout game. Florida is going to be wearing black uniforms, black helmets. Going to be pretty neat. But before that, we're also going mobile to another Florida game. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. We seeing the Gators take on the Bulldogs here next weekend. And I will be reporting live from Jacksonville.
I'm going to say, y'all, I'm going to be reporting live on November 4th from the Peanut Festival.
Yes. Love them peanuts. Well, let's talk about one more game. Well, let's talk about a couple quick hitters.
Quick hitters, yeah.
Washington struggle one against 1-5 Arizona State. I think that was
rough. How do you go from scoring 36 on Oregon to scoring only 15 against Arizona? That's the Pac-12 summed up in a sentence right there.
Yeah.
For that point, John, look at what Oregon did against Washington State. They almost they didn't almost lose, but they could have lost that game easily.
100%.
I'm telling you, I think if Oregon would have went to overtime, if they would have hit the kick and went into overtime with Washington, I think they would have beat Washington.
I think that was you're coming off an emotional high, and you go into a game against a 1-5 Arizona State team. You think you're going to win it like crazy, and Arizona State defense shows up. They say, we're going to play. We're going to give you our best, and it was an ugly win. Another one, Missouri and South Carolina.
I'm pulling up Missouri's schedule. Missouri might be for real. So they have a bye week this week. Them and Alabama, I think, them and Alabama, and maybe LSU are the bye weeks this week in the SEC. Missouri comes back on November 4th to play at Georgia. They play Tennessee, at Missouri, Florida at Missouri, and then at Arkansas. There is a chance that Missouri can go lose. I'm gonna go lose to Georgia just to be safe. Be 7-2. I think they can beat Tennessee personally at Missouri, so that'd be 8-2, 9-2 against Florida. They can go 10-2 this season against and finish the season beating Arkansas. I mean,
what a turnaround! Would Eli Drinkwitz not be candidate for Coach of the Year? I mean,
he would.
He was about to get fired. I mean, he was ready to get. They would.
He was on the ropes. Him. He was on the ropes. And Brady Cook, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. He's really good.
Oh no,
hang on. Let's see.
Agree.
What you pulling up there? J-Dub.
So he's got 2,200 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a completion percentage of 69.7%. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about it, but though, if Missouri can beat Georgia, and if Georgia loses to Tennessee, maybe they lose there's a chance Missouri could be in the SEC championship representing the East.
If they win out, they will be.
If they beat Georgia, they will because their only loss is to a West team.
Yeah.
100%.
If they win out, then what we're saying pretty much, if they win out, they could be in the playoffs. Think about that.
Now let me tell you.
It depends if they can win the SEC championship. If they lose, they won't get in.
If they do win the SEC championship somehow, some way,
well, then
why would
they'll
you
get
not
in.
put them
They'll get in.
Well, here's the situation. What if Missouri just barely beats Georgia, and Missouri makes it to the SEC championship and plays, let's say, Alabama. Alabama wins, and then you got Georgia with this one loss, and they barely lost to Missouri. That's going to be a conversation. But we'll wait till that game.
It's going to come down. That would come down to who's going to get in, a one-loss Georgia or a one-loss Ohio State or a one-loss Michigan. That's what that comes down to.
All right, but last game we need to talk about USC and Utah.
Yep. It's just about to transition to that one.
That was my upset of the week.
Everybody,
it wasn't.
All
No,
three
it
of us
wasn't.
said that.
You
No,
said
I
USC
said
was going to go out there and roll.
no. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. I said that was my upset of the week, and I didn't get it.
Was
That's
USC
what I
not
was saying.
favored in that game?
No,
They were
Utah was
favored.
favored in that
What?
game. Yeah,
I
Utah
didn't
was
know
I
that.
ranked
thought
higher.
US. Oh,
Only by what, 1?
No, like 5.
What was Utah ranked?
I thought Utah was 14. USC was 18.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all I
They
was
were,
going
yeah,
USC.
okay.
My bad. Not 5, 4. I meant to say 4.
Well,
But
either way.
I think they have wasted Caleb Williams' potential at USC. I mean,
This might hurt his draft stock.
and now they're saying, well, Caleb Williams, should he? I've been seeing it all over X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Should he just sit out the rest of the season? He's already got 2 losses on the season. He's not making the playoff. The Heisman's far out of his reach now. Should he sit out? And everybody said, bro, look at Bryce Young. He didn't sit out. He had 2 losses. And he went to a bowl game, was far out from the Heisman, and still was the number 1 pick. If he plays the rest of the season, it's not going to affect his draft stock. He still will be number 1 just because, I mean, he's a good prospect. I mean, he might be the best draft talent since Trevor Lawrence. Even better than, I want to say better draft prospect, not player, draft prospect than Joey B. Just because he's a little bit more mobile than Joey B.
In this day and age of NFL football, you might be right.
I don't know if I would
think
say
they've
he's
wasted
higher than Joe Burrow, but I mean he's definitely up there. He's one of the higher rated draft prospects we've seen in a long time. Is old Bo Nix finally going to graduate? Is he finally?
Seems like he's been around forever.
He set the record. He set the record this week for the most starts in college
by a quarterback.
No,
I think, but
USC's just like I expressed last week on last week's episode. Or Lincoln Riley, one of the greatest offensive minds of all time, maybe number 1 offensive mind of all, cannot do nothing on defense. Never will. Refuses to do anything on defense. Blows my mind. Utah, they're good. They're always that one team. You can count on Utah being the one good team from the Pac-12 always. You know, everybody
didn't they beat Alabama in a bowl game a couple of years back?
They beat us in 2009.
2008.
No, 2008.
2008
after
season.
After we lost to Florida, they beat us in the Sugar Bowl. But I think the Pac-12 is unraveling. You know, at one point it was the Pac-12 is the greatest conference of all time. There's 9 teams. Now they're kind of unraveling a little bit. You're seeing who the contenders and the pretenders are. The contenders are the Washington, Oregon. The pretenders being Utah, the Colorado. Everybody knew Colorado was a pretender. I mean, I wouldn't even call them pretenders. I don't blame them for all the hype. I mean, they got the hype just because it's Dion. If it was Trent Dilfer coaching the team, they would have had no hype.
Yeah, and to further that point, I think you're starting to see who the real teams are throughout the entire NCAA. Like, I think now after yesterday, I think y'all can finally admit that Alabama has a real shot at going to the national championship. I think that Ohio State is probably going to run away with that in their conference. I don't know how I feel about Georgia. I still don't. Georgia.
I don't know about Michigan.
We still need to see.
I mean, when you can go to Michigan State, I know they're not much this year, but you can go to somebody's house and beat them 42-0. That's still pretty good. That's pretty strong right there. Now they're saying, I saw Vegas is saying that J.J. McCarthy is going to win the Heisman. They have him
he's number 1 for the Heisman right now, and he's really good. I give it to him.
He should.
I mean, know if I really see that happen. Sustaining.
He just doesn't remind me of a Heisman quarterback. Like, it's got to be Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know who else. I would have said Bo Nix if they won, but.
Well, the only reason is because of the performance against Arizona State. You know, that lowered his Heisman expectations. Yeah. But I think it'll come back. But
before we head off for the show,
he looks like what's his name that's playing for the Jets right now.
Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson?
Yeah, he kind of looks like Zach Wilson.
Who? You know about Bo or J.J. McCarthy?
J.J. McCarthy.
Oh.
I can see it. Well, all right, let's to kind of start to recap, let's kind of touch on our current top 4. Who do we have in the playoff after this Saturday? Let me run through the new top 15 of the AP poll. Sitting at 15, you got LSU. It's, again, seems like every year, Alabama, LSU. It's going to be another big one this time in Bryant-Denny. Notre Dame, they're sitting solid at number 14. Utah moved up a spot to 13. Ole Miss at 12. Oregon State is number 11. Penn State dropped at number 10. Alabama jumps back into the top 10. They're at 9. Oregon at 8. Texas still hovering in the 7th spot. Oklahoma just above them in 6. So that's it for the Big 12. Washington outside the top 4 at number 5. FSU at 4. Ohio State, it's Ohio State and Michigan 3 and 2. And then Georgia still at number 1. So let's start off. Who wants to go first with your top 4? Or do we want to do a round robin? Everybody give their number 4, and then everybody do their number 3.
No, let's just
give them all out.
I'll do it. My first 4, you got to go. Are we doing it in an order, or are we just saying who we think the 4 is going to be going into the playoff?
Just do your 4. No particular order.
I'm going to go Florida State. I think out of all the teams, I think they're the most for sure bet, besides either Ohio State, Michigan. But I think Florida State. I'm still going to go Georgia, just because, I like this Alabama team, but it depends if Brock Bowers can come back for the SEC championship. If he can make it back for the SEC championship, it's all Georgia. Right now, I'm going Ohio State, and I'm going to go Michigan.
Both of them.
I don't know. I don't see Washington doing it. I would, in my opinion, I just will sound crazy. I would rather have a one-loss Ohio State or a one-loss Michigan, be that loss to either or, than a 7-0 Washington or undefeated Washington. Because you see what I'm saying? I don't know. Watching Washington this week against Arizona State, there's just no way they're going to win out. I just don't believe it.
Well, yeah, I think I originally thought Washington might be the top team in the country. But after watching them this past week, to let Arizona State do that to you, I just don't know about it. I think the minute they go up against an SEC team, it's probably over. The minute they go up against the top Big Ten team, it's probably over.
And listen to this. They still got to play USC at USC, Utah at home, playing at Oregon State, and then playing Washington State. They're going to lose one of those 4 games. It's a given, I think.
I think so as well. My 4... As of right now, I do agree. I think, and I hate this concept that you just have to throw them in there because of who they are, and but you got to put Georgia in there. Now, Georgia, they ain't got it easy. The tough part of their schedule is coming, and them Tigers is lurking, and I mean the Missouri Tigers.
The Missouri.
If they can beat Missouri handily, I think we can rest easily saying Georgia is number 1. I think you have to put Michigan in there. I think Michigan will beat Ohio State. I think it'll. I don't think you can put both in there. With the way that Ohio State has played some close games, especially against Notre Dame. I would put Florida State in there as well. I do think that they have an easy path to the playoff. I don't think that they've got some tough tests against Miami, and then whoever they play in the championship, but that's about it. And then my outlier, I think it's going to be Texas. I think Texas probably beats Oklahoma in another matchup in the Big 12 championship.
Big 12. I can see that.
Hey, I'm confused on what we're doing. Are we talking about end of season, who we think is going to be in?
If we're doing end of season, mine might be a little bit. Okay, it's kind of a mix of both, I guess. Just do your
just kind of like right now, if it would have happened. Okay, so right now, mine. I don't see any reason to change it up I don't.
from where
Georgia,
it's at right
Michigan,
now?
Ohio State, and Florida State. I mean, they've all proved themselves. I don't think that. I think, like y'all said, hell, if you put Washington up against Florida State, I think Florida State takes that. I think if you put Washington up against any of those top four teams, Washington loses. And I think my next team out is going to be Oklahoma.
You think they'll drop a game, or you'll think they'll lose to Texas, or both?
I I think that
It's the Bedlam is a big rivalry, and I think Oklahoma State could do something in that game. With it being at Oklahoma State,
I'll tell you what. Whoever loses between Michigan and Ohio State, replace that team with Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Okay.
I just don't trust what's his name.
I don't either.
The coach.
I don't
Dylan
trust Oklahoma in general.
No, the
in
coach
the playoffs.
What's his name?
But
Venables.
Venables. Brett Venables. I don't have faith in him to go undefeated. I just don't.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Yeah, that's our top four. Well, John, do you have a question for us today?
Yeah, I got a scenario for y'all. All right. So this isn't a commercial Delta airliner. This is like a prop plane, like you would fly around in Alaska, right? You know what I'm talking about, like a little like 2-seater airplane, right? You are on a plane and it's got two controls. Obviously, you're sitting in the passenger seat, pilot's in the main seat. Something happens and he passes out and faints and he's unconscious. How confident are you to land that airplane and not necessarily be unharmed, but be alive?
Okay, fly and land, or just land?
Oh, you got to fly it and land it.
See, I think I can fly. I'm not gonna lie. I played enough games. I played enough Grand Theft Auto and enough Black Ops. I'm landing that plane. I'm flying that plane, no doubt. Landing?
Is it a smooth landing? Is it like you landing it in smooth, or you just a little rocky?
Oh, I'm gonna kiss the ground. I'm gonna kiss the ground. Is it gonna be like a little peck, or is it gonna be like a full? Like, I think I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, I think I could land it. I think I could.
How far away from the airfield is this happening?
I mean, I don't know. Or miles
if it
different
happens
in the sky.
far back, like, I've been driving for like 2 hours, and I kind of like a game plan ready. Oh, then I'm landing that plane. That's no.
You got like 45 minutes to an hour. Like you turn around.
I'm landing that plane.
Yeah. Okay. Sam.
Yeah, I think in that amount of time, I think I can, just on sheer, aerodynamics of being able to like control it and, get it kind of situated right. I think I could, get it to where it's at least, not head on, right? Where it's kind of,
where
at least
you kind of
slides.
like the tails.
Yeah. And just let it ride.
I could hit like a sully, like.
Find some water somewhere or something. But if it's like
John? What do you think you can do?
If we're going Mayday or something, I'm dead.
I think I can do it. I think I've flown in a plane like that before, and like I didn't like actually like fly it, but I've like been in one of those, and I don't know, man. I feel like I could do it. Now, if you're talking an airliner, no.
Oh,
no,
airliner,
no.
I'm done.
No chance.
I would say helicopter, I'm done, but airliner, done. Let me ask you, can you do it while drunk? Can you do it under the inebriation of a happy dad? No, nobody can.
Do we get to smoke a dart while we're doing it? Can we like smoke a cigarette while we're doing it? If we can, if the answer to that question is yes, or a cigar, then I think I could do it.
Well, I don't believe in smoking cigarettes. I hope my fiance's watching this.
All right, I got a question.
What's your question?
If you were a zombie and you were like conscious zombie, what celebrity's body would you take over?
What now?
If you were a zombie.
Because I didn't know zombies could do that.
I didn't know they could either.
Okay, let's say if you could, maybe not a zombie. Okay, if you could take over anybody's body, who would it be? Any celebrity?
Kelsey, because I guess to mean I'd be with Taylor Swift. This podcast supports Kelsey and Taylor Swift.
We are Swifties on this podcast.
I love Swifties.
Don't let my girlfriend hear me ever say that.
I want to go to the Eras tour. I want to go to the Eras tour. But if I had to pick a celebrity, I want to be
Can it be sports? Can it be sports too?
Yeah.
All right, Dansby Swanson. Done. That's my answer.
It's a little weird.
Cause he's hot.
I would do Kid Rock.
Kid Rock.
No, I would do possibly one of the coolest celebrities of all time, Christopher Walken. I would want to be Christopher Walken. I think that dude is just swagger. Either him or, you know what? Give me like 1960s and 1970s Clint Eastwood.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
So you know what? I'm going to be Clint Eastwood. I want to be Clint Eastwood from the 60s, 70s.
All right. Sam, who are you? I'm going to change mine too, but
prime time. You already know. No, I'm kidding. I would be the legend, the one, the only.
Bear Bryant.
Elton John.
No. One of the greatest musical minds of our generation.
Elton John.
DMX.
No. Better.
T.I.?
Better.
Hang on. We got to guess it now. We got to give us some hints so we can guess it.
What genre music?
Pop.
The Jonas Brothers.
No.
Better. Them boys from South Korea. You know what I'm talking about?
Gangnam Style?
No. Psy? No.
Hot like butter.
Justin Timberlake.
Close, but no. You want me to tell you?
Is it an NSYNC member?
Yes.
No, but he's close.
Chris
DJ Pauly D.
I want to be Pauly Shore.
and then John Earl is going to be the Situation.
I want to be Andy Dick. No. John, who do you want to be? I got Clint Eastwood. He is DJ Pauly Shore. Who do you got?
You sparked my curiosity, John. I'm gonna go Sam Elliott with that mustache. That's who I would be.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah. Like vintage Sam Elliott, not current Sam Elliott.
I thought you were. I was thinking of Sam Hartman with his beard. That dude's, but he shaved it. I don't know if y'all saw. He shaved that thing.
He looks ugly now. He's hotter than Dansby though. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's
I think that does
4 of Heads Up. Yeah, but so we're gonna end it on that note. We got Clint Eastwood, we got Pauly Shore, and then we got Sam Elliott. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, John. You take me as a Robert Pattinson kind of guy. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna say like Woody Harrelson or somebody like that.
No, I really want to be I personally really want to be like what's his name, Michael Cera, but you know.
I might go watch Superbad right now.
I'm about to say, I don't know. But guys, you know, it's been a great weekend. Weekend's never long enough, of course. We got a lot of stuff going on with sports this week. We are going to find out tonight. John, what's the score of the Astros-Rangers?
3-1 right now. Rangers are up.
We will find out this week when you hear us again on Friday afternoon. You are going to know who's in the World Series. We'll give our World Series predictions.
When does the World Series start?
It starts
Next week, I think.
I think it's like this Saturday or something.
It starts Friday. So when you hear this next episode of the podcast, we are going to talk about our predictions for the World Series. We have, and I know we're not big NBA people. NBA starts next weekend. We'll give our predictions, random predictions of who's going to win the NBA Finals.
No, we won't.
Just throw
No,
out
we won't.
The
Throw
Grizzlies.
out John Morant. Oh my God! Don't go on Instagram.
The Sacramento Kings.
You know, we got a lot going on in sports. We got Halloween coming up. We might dress up for the next episode. You don't know what's going to happen.
We might touch on a little NFL. Currently, the Eagles are stifling that hardcore Dolphins offense. It's 17-10. I guess the Dolphins just scored.
You know, how about today? You had Mac Jones beat the Bills. Threw up 29 points. Threw up on the Bills defense. I mean,
let me give you a quick stat before we go. Bill Belichick, in games that Tom Brady has not started in his entire career, 81-95. He has a losing record.
Well, you know, I've told y'all before in the past, I was like, okay, maybe this is Bill Belichick's last year. They secretly signed his extension, so he's staying. But the most important news of the NFL today, she was at the game again. Thank you, Lord. That is the best relationship in the world. Taylor Swift was at the game. That's the only reason why they won. And I really hate it because she became she did a handshake with Brittany Mahomes. I really hate that.
Oh,
I really
God.
I mean, I really hate
terrible couple. That is such a terrible duo.
We need Jackson back.
What's he doing now? Did he get arrested?
Is he not in jail?
He's in jail. He's bad. We got Monday Night Football, gentlemen. Who we got tomorrow night? We got the 49ers, Vikings. Let's just give a quick prediction. See if we know our stuff. I'm going 49ers. Sam, Sweaty Boy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think the 49ers are probably the best team in the NFL right now. I'll go Niners.
I agree. All right. John, who you got? 49ers, Vikings. Just give us
I love Minnesota. I'm just going to go Vikings. Vikings all day. 49ers aren't that good. They're not even that good of a team. I don't think that.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, them and the Dolphins and the Eagles all suck. So I'm going to go Vikings.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for us, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Who knows? It's Halloween, spooky season. We might go over some of our favorite Halloween stuff. You never know. Come back to Heads Up Play. This has been Cowboy. This has been J-Dub. This has been Sweaty Boy. Thank y'all so very much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. We have a link tree on Instagram. Go on there, follow all of our social media handles. And guys, y'all have a good rest of your week. And remember, you got to keep your heads up because you never know when that play is coming. Y'all have a good one.
Heads up, play. Heads up, play. Heads up, play.